So, Adam, everybody knows you from PCCC.
Hello, TYT Nation. Too strong, the Army. Okay.
Last time I saw you, we were on Old School together.
It was pretty amazing.
You were sharing all your secrets.
And I was actively lobbying that Cenk Uygur make Old School public from behind the paywall.
Did you hear that?
Now is the time for Medicare for All and public TYT Old School.
Oh!
Which one will come first? We'll find out. Cenk Uygur?
Way to flip that argument. Jeez. I mean, now I feel like I'm all in. Okay. Are you lobbying me? I'm confused. So, okay, we're here. This is a big day. Did you ever see, you've been in Washington a long time, working with Democratic lawmakers, trying to get them a little bit more progressive. Did you ever see this day coming in the near future?
Certainly not in my near future. Yeah, I mean, 6 months ago, this day was hard to imagine, let alone 2 years ago. I mean, it's undoubtable that Bernie Sanders' candidacy proved the concept that voters are hungry for big ideas like Medicare for all. He almost, he made neck and neck a race that was supposed to be a coronation because of things like this. And it's not an accident that we have Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Kirsten Gillibrand, people like Al Franken, and Bernie Sanders all standing with him today. It's the future of the party.
So where do we go from here? You do this as a day job. You lobby these people. How do you get the rest of the Democrats on board?
Well, first, it's important to just underscore that this is not a legislative moment as much as it is the product launch of a message that Democrats will take into the 2018 and 2020 elections. This is for public consumption, Medicare for all. It is a big picture brand under which many things can fall, including Bernie Sanders' bill, right? Even Bernie says that there could be multiple ways of writing Medicare for all single payer. He wrote one of them. There will also be coming up a Medicare for all buy-in, where anybody in America can choose.
Chris Murphy's bill.
Chris Murphy, and
Senator.
Yes. And that also is Medicare for all, right? Allowing any American who wants to have access to Medicare. So, the hope is that we can have consensus very soon among Democrats that no matter which version you support some version of Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders' candidacy will be the but-for cause of that all happening. And where does it go from here? Well, there's going to be more dominoes falling in terms of senators deciding to get on this, falling in a positive direction. Just a couple days ago, there were, 1, then 5, then 10, and now, 16 people plus Bernie on this. I wouldn't be shocked if by next week we had 25, which would be half the Senate Democratic caucus. Political reporters in this room are stunned at what is going on here. And, we're hearing from candidates all the time on the campaign trail that want to actively embrace this issue and talk about it. So this is going to be a huge, campaign. And today, I believe 24 different groups, including ours, are engaging millions of people and amplifying what happened here in this room, asking people to be part of the fight for Medicare for all, share it with their friends. So it's going to be great.
What do you think the holdout is right now for some of these other senators?
Change takes time, including change in conventional wisdom. And, again, some of the political reporters in this room have just been saying for so long that single payer is not popular and blah, blah, blah. We did, at the Progressive Change Institute, our sister organization, we did polling showing that a Medicare option for all is popular by about 70 to 19%. And when it's more single payer, more mandatory, it's still 55% to 35%. It's still a huge margin. So it's popular. Now, whenever someone says, the words single payer by itself, oftentimes it's an attempt to marginalize this idea. When the brand is Medicare, right? Single payer is DC speak. Medicare for all is our message to the country, our big North Star that we're holding out for the country, the direction we should follow. When people talk about litmus tests, honestly, that's an attempt to marginalize progressives. It wasn't a litmus test that got us from 5 senators a couple days ago to 16 today. It's progress, and
It's a diverse group of senators. This is not the most progressive senators. It's not just Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders.
And it stands for the larger proposition that so many people want to write off what Bernie and Elizabeth Warren do as saying, they come from liberal states. Honestly, they don't need this to win in Vermont. Elizabeth Warren doesn't need to charge against the big banks to win in Massachusetts. But what we've seen in red state after red state is specifically not just that you can get away with big, bold economic populist ideas, but specifically the way to win is to actively project a big, bold economic populist message. People in Appalachia, people in parts of West Virginia are not rooting for the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies to get away with murder, right? They love, Republican voters in West Virginia love Medicare. Some of them might have been the people saying, get your government hands off my Medicare back in the Tea Party days. But the idea, if you talk to a grandparent who's on Medicare, whose kid might have cancer or whose grandkid might be sick, and you say to them, would you rather have your kid or grandkid at the mercy of for-profit insurance companies that profit by denying people care, or getting the Medicare that you're on? Pretty sure even Republican grandparents will be like, please extend Medicare to my family. And that's why Medicare for All is such a powerful concept. And the fact that Joe Manchin is embracing that theme is positive direction and really validation.
It is validation, and it kind of goes back to that argument that's been happening within the Democratic Party over, do we talk about economic politics, populist politics, or identity politics? I still don't know what identity means, because I see social issues in that camp of whatever you would call identity politics, whether it's guns, LGBTQ issues, women's issues, and then obviously there's the diversity issues. So I heard a couple people on stage today discuss the diversity element in terms of how many people of color would be in a much better situation if there was Medicare for All. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Systemic racism is seen all throughout our economy, including, jobs and education, but also including access to healthcare. And if we are able to extend healthcare to every American, particularly good healthcare like Medicare, that would disproportionately help marginalized communities, no doubt about it. Now, that doesn't replace, the argument that, hey, we can't worry about a job 10 years from now if our kids can't walk down the street. And there's elements of, police reform and, criminal justice reform, banning for-profit prisons that we need to also be cognizant of. But there's a clear merger between economic justice and racial justice, and it's really great that that is being amplified. Also really glad to hear the idea today that the Hyde Amendment will be gone in any version of Medicare for All. That is absolutely true. It's very intersectional.
And NARAL came out today in support of Medicare for All as a result.
Breaking news here. Thank you.
I live on Twitter.
No, good for Elise Hogue. Elise Hogue at NARAL has been a real leader at showing the intersectionality of issues that traditionally have been called women's issues that actually are broader economic issues.
Adam, what's next?
Well, what's next on this campaign, again, is massive amplification. This is not a one-day flash in the pan. It's going to be a huge story arc with momentum, hopefully every day, with more and more people signing on to the concept. What's next after we see some more dominoes fall in Congress is many, many candidates across this country, House candidates, Senate candidates, even local, state and local candidates, coming out for Medicare for All. What's the impact of that? Millions of people being spoken to by people they trust on a local level and being evangelized to, being educated by candidates across the campaign trail. So if you're a candidate out there, I really encourage you to tweet right now in support of Sanders and Medicare for All. Tweet at us, at Bold Progressive, so that we can retweet you and acknowledge you, because we want to hold up those leaders.
And TYT Politics.
And TYT Politics. Do it on TYT Live, hashtag TYT Live if you can. So again, we kind of see a crescendo happening. And then, one thing that Jeff Weaver said to me a little while ago is, it's not just going to happen on this issue. We're going to see so many more issues just going into the mainstream. Why can't we talk about jailing Wall Street bankers? Why can't we talk about Glass-Steagall? Why can't we talk about so many other things? Debt-free college, tuition-free college, all these things in a real way. Donald Trump is not talking about this. We were not dependent on him setting the agenda, at least in a proactive way, for this. This was us seizing our own destiny, basically, and pushing through sheer force of will and passion this idea into the mainstream. And there's many more issues we can do.
And these issues are common sense to people who are not necessarily fluent in the political landscape. When they hear them, they say, of course, why wouldn't you jail the bankers? Why wouldn't you, pass Glass-Steagall, go through the list of break up the big banks? It makes sense after the biggest economic collapse, in the last 70 years.
Absolutely.
So, my thought is people talk about the bubble. They talk about the Beltway syndrome. Where it's hard for people outside of DC to understand what common people want and need and think. And it feels like we're having this moment where common sense might be penetrating the Democratic Party again, so that folks don't feel shamed for thinking we all deserve health care, even though it's a global, it's clearly popular globally. The message wars, you think we're winning it?
we're making progress. Hopefully, we're winning it. It's really interesting. They're just it's so clear there are two schools of thought, both among Democratic apparatchiks and among political reporters and the chattering class about what is smart for Democrats. Again, so many reporters I talked to yesterday were just considering it a fact that single payer is unpopular, and like walking them through that. Well, would you grant that Medicare is popular? Great. Again, Republican grandparents, wouldn't they want, maybe they grant it by the end, but whereas for us it's so intuitive, right? And with Democrats too, we have corporate think tanks out there right now trash-talking Bernie Sanders, trash-talking Medicare for all. Again, using the rhetoric of litmus test and single payer to marginalize us and wonkify this, make this a DC thing, as opposed to embracing the idea, the 75% popular Medicare brand. But if we have equal footing in a debate, if our voices are on the air, if we are on a debate stage with somebody, then we win. We're winning the messaging war. And I'm looking forward to corporate Democrats' arguments just shriveling when it comes to when they are relying on wonk speak and side arguments, and we are wrapping ourselves in the flag of Medicare for all. Medicare patriots.
On that note, Medicare patriots, TYT patriots, bold progressive patriots. What else am I forgetting? What other kind of patriots? All right, sounds great. Thanks, Adam. Always a pleasure. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.